If you go with clear, it must be clear through.
Mhm. You can argue, everyone.
So this is my question, and the reason that I put it in, imagination, because at first I don't want to put it in like, what will you do if something happens? I put it in imagination because sometimes things happen, sometimes it doesn't, but we need to expect something to happen, right? Because we don't know what will happen to our institution when you are the manager, and when it come up to you, you do not know what to do, and this is negatively affect. It would be some factors, for example, the reputation of your institution, for example, university, or maybe a language center. And like, we are not like in the past. Nowadays we have social network, and the information spread really quickly. And so I think, like, we really need a quick reaction from the managers, or someone who are in charge administration, like in this case. And I think negatively affects, like, it doesn't, like, it's quite clear for me when I raise the question here.
Mhm.
This is a problem solution. You are asking for solutions, but your problem is not specific. So how how is solution correct? We just
Mhm.
we just solve specific problem. We cannot solve
Uh,
some problem is in yeah in the air.
yeah, yes, Thầy, I understand your point, and I
Yeah,
understand Lynn's point as well. In fact, Lynn is okay. Lynn's question is clear. In this case, we expect the administrator skill in solving the problem. And of course, when it comes to the concrete or specific issue or problem, the administrator have to be involved, have to try to find ways to investigate the level of the problem. I do agree with what the group had just shared here on the screen. And you know that this is the issue of what can I say? Communication crisis, right? Communication crisis these days, which is spread very quickly through the social network or different kind of communication channel these days. If we cannot really control or manage the crisis like this, and if we do not know how to predict such a thing once it happened, then that would be difficult for us to follow or to manage the institution. So in this case, we have to understand the theory of risk management. Risk management. We have to understand the possibility, the thing that might be highly risk or risky or risk at a very high level, so that we can predict what will happen. That's the reason why whenever we come to any kind of decision that might affect that may cause some kind of crisis in terms of communication, we have to understand, we have to predict such beforehand. Of course, when it happened, we have to continue solving the problem. There will be some kind of decision. Uh, by the time we make the decision, we finalize it, we may not imagine of the consequences. But soon after the decision is spread out, there will be some certain kind of uh, effect or some certain kind of bad reputation or influence that affect our reputation. So that happen quite often these days. Therefore, we need a kind of comprehensive, an overview or comprehensive look at the problem, at the situation, right? That's it. Okay, so continue, please.
Okay, I hope everyone. Yeah, okay, let's
Any
move on to
question
the.
left?
Yes, there's a few questions left.
Can you go quickly?
Right. So the next one is from Dương Thị Mỹ Linh. What kind of information should a school or institution put on memos, and for what purpose? purposes. So,
We
Ms.
have a
Hoa,
long
please.
list to do. We have a long list to do. Yeah,
Right,
so I
so
think the question is quite clear and the answer is quite clear. But of course, regarding the issue, can you hold on? All right. The answer here is clear, but there might be a lot of things here related to the internal and the external documentation of the institution. We need a kind of database system. We need a kind of internal system of information as well, so that we can store all the information. The memos or the meeting minutes are just there, but we have some different documentation like the strategic plan, like the policy, like the regulation. There's a system for that. And if you want to further investigate into it, the best way for you to work on is to follow the guideline by ISO 14,000 or 2009. Okay. Cái quy trình hóa nó rất là đầy đủ, chúng ta có rất là nhiều thứ và các em thấy một cái đơn vị, đơn vị đào tạo, một cơ sở, tất mọi thứ người ta đều lưu trữ lại hết, chứ không phải chỉ riêng những memo hay riêng những cái MOU hay riêng những cái meeting minutes đâu, rất là nhiều loại. Tất cả các loại văn bản của trường đều phải lưu, bản cứng hay bản mềm chuyện đó của trường. Ok, chứ nhiều đây cũng không đủ nữa, nhiều đây cũng không đủ ha. Information là ta lưu hết đầy đủ. Và for what purpose, mỗi cái nó có cái purpose riêng, cho sự tồn tại, cho sự phát triển, nó cho cái việc vận hành, nó cho tất tần tật mọi loại thông tin. Có cái thì thông tin nội bộ, có cái thì truyền thông ra bên ngoài, có cái thì nó để giúp cho tất cả các thầy cô, các cán bộ ở trong trường và ngoài trường có thể hợp tác với nhau được rất tốt. Chủ yếu là trong trường, ví dụ như giữa giảng viên nó có sổ tay nội bộ. Như vậy cái này các em phải đi sâu vào kiểm định chất lượng thì em sẽ thấy rằng đọc một bộ tiêu chuẩn của Bộ Giáo dục và Đào tạo có bản tiếng Việt luôn, lên trên trang web coi, lên trên trang web của Cục Quản lý Chất lượng, hoặc là tìm cho thầy xem cái bộ tiêu chuẩn kiểm định chất lượng ở cấp trường hoặc là cấp chương trình đào tạo, hai cái ha. Cấp trường ở trường đại học và cao đẳng thì nó có nguyên một cái bộ 22 tiêu chuẩn, và trong đó cái nào nó cũng đòi chúng ta phải minh chứng tất cả, bộ hồ sơ lưu trữ đầy đủ, kể không hết đâu. Mỗi lần thầy đi đánh giá vậy nó nguyên một cái phòng kho vậy đó, mà cũng đâu đầy đủ hết, rồi cả hệ thống mạng của người ta, cho nên nó rất tần tật nhiều loại lắm nha các em nha. Như vậy chúng ta sẽ thấy đến câu hỏi này. Còn cái meeting minutes nó chỉ là những biên bản ghi nhớ, biên bản họp thế thôi, nó cũng không có đủ hết đâu. Biên bản là giải quyết những sự việc, những sự kiện nó diễn ra bình thường. Rồi kể cả những cái như là hồ sơ hội thảo khoa học, nó có phải là tài liệu không? Vâng, nó vẫn phải là tài liệu của chúng ta. Tài liệu đó nó không phải giải quyết vấn đề, nhưng nó minh chứng cho một thực tế rằng em bảo rằng ở trường chúng ta nghiên cứu khoa học rất giỏi. Vậy minh chứng đâu? Văn bản đâu? Rồi những văn bản nào ban hành để hướng dẫn các cái công việc nghiên cứu khoa học đó, vân vân, rất nhiều thứ. Các em nghe kịp không ạ? Như vậy tất tần tật bao nhiêu tiêu chuẩn của cái bộ tiêu chuẩn kiểm định chất lượng là nó đòi hỏi chừng ấy và gấp nhiều lần, gấp bội lần các cái minh chứng, và minh chứng đó chính là the kind of information that you need to provide. Okay, continue please.
Okay, thank you, sir. So now, due to the time limit, we will move on to the last questions. So we have one from Ms. Phương Duyên. What are the main causes of teachers' dissatisfaction while teaching at the language center? So this one is signed up by me. So me, please.
Yeah, so to answer this question, I would like to say that it depends on the teacher's requirements at the beginning. For example, you're looking for a working environment that you want to improve your skill, your knowledge. You don't care much about the welfare. So if the courses or like the working environment doesn't meet your requirements, it leads to your dissatisfaction. However, if you want to have a professional working environment with good benefits, so if it doesn't meet that, so it will dissatisfy you. That's why our answer is it's based on the teacher's preferences. And yeah, that's my answer as well. And a very clear example as you can see on the slide on the screen. And I would like to answer question 2.4 as well from Miss Tan. Sometimes the school leaders' communication can affect teachers' performance in teaching. So how should teachers avoid negative emotion to students and their classrooms? So for this one, we can reflect on the thing that we mentioned before about professionalism of the teachers. I strongly believe that as a teacher, although you have a lot of negative emotions because of your daily lives or other factors in your life, so but the time when you step into the classroom, so you should deliver the best lessons and that should be your best performance. Because if you consider students as the customers, what we should do to customers is try to give the best product to them. So there's no reason that we have to transfer the negative emotions to our students at our customers. But besides, in other sides, that as administrators of the centers or organizations, we also need to find a way to communicate or connect with the teachers so the negativity can be reduced as much as possible. That's also our group's idea of your question. Thank you, Mr. Tan. And yeah, Mr. Min, can you end the Q&A section because of the time
Okay.
constraint?
Yes, because time limitation, we have one more question left from Miss Phương Chi. However, we will send you the answers through your direct message. Uh, Therefore, also we believe that this is the end of our Q&A section. And if there is also other questions, we would like to send our answers via emails.
You don't need now to answer to share the answer by email. The easiest way that you can do is you copy all of your answer back to the QA session, to the QA form, so that all of the classmates can share your answer to the questions. Okay, so you
Okay.
can do so too. That will be much easier for everyone to refer back to what you have thought, what you have shared. Okay, so thank you the group for, yeah, you can stop sharing the screen now. Thank you so much for all of your sharing, which is really interesting so far. You can see that the important role of communication in a school, in an institution, and specifically in the context of a certain classroom. The communication between teacher and student, as well as the communication between the administrator and the teacher, as well as the administrator and the student in a certain institution, which is called internal communication. Whatever we are doing, we can see the important role of communication within a certain institution. Now, let me continue with sharing my my screen. Now let me check. Can you wait for a while? I will copy the video uh, so that I can share it more easily. Open it. See on the screen here. Back to the issue of mindset, as we mentioned earlier. When we talk about the small community between the teacher and the student within our class, I think some of your questions that left unanswered are talking about the relationship, the communication or communication breakdown between teacher and student within a class, as well as the communication between the teachers and the school administrator. This is the problem of nurturing or changing the attitude or changing the behavior, like what Thủy already mentioned a while ago. An issue of changing the mindset when you teach somebody, when you train somebody, or when you are working. Oh, can you see my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Oh, really? Sorry. What happened? I don't know. Wait. Why? Can you see now? Okay. I stop at this slide. The issue of mindset. When we want to nurture a certain person, communication skill, or a certain kind of communication culture within a certain institution, that is the process of changing, the process of helping people to adapt to the new situation, to the new communication culture. So that is important for people to understand. In the next slide, I would love you to watch the video, what really drives our behaviors. Have you ever known Sean Stephenson? Have you ever known this American therapist? A self-help author and a motivational speaker. He was born with osteogenesis imperfecta. Have you ever heard this kind of disease? Stephenson
Not
stand
yet,
3
sir.
feet tall, has fragile bones and use a wheelchair. Ông ta có một cái kênh gọi là Be Unstoppable. Và chúng ta có thể nghe thêm sau này khi thầy giảng rồi, chúng ta về nghe thêm. Bệnh này gọi là bệnh xương thủy tinh. Đụng tới đâu là nó gãy xương tới đó, hoặc là đi tới đâu là nó đau tới đó. Tại vì xương rất là mỏng, rất là dễ vỡ và chỉ ngồi xe lăn suốt à. Đấy. Và chúng ta hãy lắng nghe cái bài học của ông ta thử xem. Thầy sẽ dừng cái sharing này và share một cái video. Các bạn sẽ lắng nghe xem coi có 3 bài học nào nha. Are you ready? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to compose my blog post for tonight. And I'm thinking, it sounds really believable that I went to prison and hugged a bunch of really nice prisoners while a DJ.
Rồi thầy nói lại.
So I'm trying to compose my blog post for tonight. And I'm thinking, it sounds really believable that I went to prison and hugged a bunch of really nice prisoners while a DJ Busy threw on some records, and Richard Branson told me where I can score some free heroin. True story. Lesson number 1. Never believe a prediction that doesn't empower you. When I was born, the doctors told my parents that I would be dead within the first 24 hours of my life. 35 years later, all those doctors are dead. And I am the only doctor that remains. Never believe a prediction that doesn't empower you. How many predictions have been thrown at you your whole life? If you believe predictions that do not empower you, you will wither away and die. Either physically die or your spirit will die as you just walk around the world like a carcass that is just following the masses. You will be given a lot of titles in your life. You will be told so many different things. You must only listen to that which empowers you. I have a belief that has served me in my life, and that is that everyone is rooting for me to win, even those that do not know it. And I am not here today to tell you that I have had adversity in my life, and so therefore I know what you're going through. I don't have a clue what any of you are going through in your lives. I did not grow up in your neighborhoods, more than likely. I did not have your set of parents, nor do I live in your body. I have not had the events that you've had happen to you. I can tell you I am only an expert on one thing, and that's how to be me. And I do it well. But it's not come easily. I've gone through things that I don't wish upon anyone in this room. I've had metal rods pulled out of bone marrow while I was awake. I've had jaw infections where teeth had to be extracted and I can no longer chew my own food. I have to get up every day and be showered and cared for physically by another human being. Fortunately, she's a gorgeous woman that I married. I get stared at everywhere I go, and the moment people meet me, if they don't know a thing about my resume, they automatically, just by the human nature, think to themselves, oh, it must be so difficult to be that man. If somebody pities me, they're wasting their time. Because I have chosen a life of strength. And I am here to help you choose a life of strength. But I'm going to tell you, we've talked about drugs here. You know what the worst drug to ever hit the human race is? Pity. The moment you feel sorry for another person, or the moment you feel sorry for yourself, you're hosed. You are totally, completely frozen in potential. We cannot pity ourselves. We cannot pity you. Yes, I get to go home today. Yes, I get to have what many would call freedom, but I'm going to talk to you about freedom, about what I really choose to see freedom as. Because like I said, you cannot believe predictions that do not empower you. The second lesson today is you are not your condition. You are not. I am not disabled. Sure, I'll take the handicap parking privileges. But that does not define me as a man. Not able. I've been looked at and treated my whole life as if I am not able. I have had to rise above and show people that the only disability is one's refusal to adapt. You have to adapt to whatever environment you're in, even if it's prison. And what does adaptation look like? I think it looks like celebration. Because when you meet people that are celebrating their life, you want to be around them. You want to learn from them. You want to do business with them. You want to hire them. Look, if you do not want to be seen as a prisoner or a convict when you get out of this, or even while you're in this, then it's an attitude. It is a belief in yourself that you bring value to the human race, no matter what your current condition, title, or stature is. Because if I believe that I'm disabled, I would wither up, I would be shy, I would be insecure, I would be afraid, I would act like I need your help. And the rest of humanity would be okay with that. But I choose something else. I choose to be strong. I choose to be a leader. I choose to have words to move this planet. I'll tell you why I was born. And I hope it inspires you to find out why you were born. I was born to rid this world of insecurity. Because when a human being is insecure, they do stupid stuff. When we feel like we're not enough, we chase external validation and external objects to try to tell us we're enough. Thank you. You are enough. I'll tell you, I made a pledge as a therapist to love all human beings no matter what they've done. Because deep down inside, I found that every human being just wants to be loved. Even if they're tough, even if they're scary, even if they're vicious, you get them in the right position at the right time, they'll tell you the truth. They just want to be loved. You know who they want the love from the most? Not their moms, not their dads, not their wardens, none of these people. They want to be able to look in the mirror and love themselves. And if you can figure that out, then you're going somewhere. But you cannot feel sorry for yourself. When you feel sorry for yourself, you will wither. But there's a contradiction to feeling sorry for yourself. It's the opposite extreme. It's what I call bullying yourself, beating yourself up, being your own enemy and telling yourself that all those predictions, those negative opinions, they're true, they're right, you're washed up failure, you're not going to amount to anything. Bullying yourself is the most dangerous thing that you could do. You cannot afford to pity yourself. You cannot afford to bully yourself. You have to love yourself. Because the last lesson that I'm going to share with you today, that is, I'm going to teach you what the real prison is. It's not surrounded by barbed wire, electrical fences. The real prisons do not have guards. The real prison's up here. And we all got it. We all have a mind that chatters. So often won't stop chattering. Do you know where your salvation is? It's not outside these walls. I've met so many people that are so extremely successful and famous that are in prison because they're stuck in their minds, bullying themselves, pitying themselves. True freedom is dropping down out of that mind. And what my wife has taught me is drop into your heart, into mastering this beating thing that is more than just sending blood to the extremities. What is it doing? It's sending emotional possibilities, infinite possibilities of choice in our behavior, in our life, in our attitude. When you love yourself, whether you're sleeping on a prison cot or in a mansion.
Learn from the sharing by Stephenson, the 3 important lessons. What do you think about it? Maybe? Yeah, the author really want to talk about the prison of our mind. Quite often, we do not allow us to think out of what you can think. So many other lessons that you can learn from. But the prison that he mentioned is the prison of our mind. So changing the mindset, helping people to adapt to the new situation is an important task. But of course, that is not always an easy thing to do. Communication help us all freedom or have the freedom of our communication and help us to become much more closer in the way we communicate within a certain institution. If we really want to improve the context of communication in a certain situation or institution, then we have to think of that. So now we will continue with the idea of values. Let me share with you a few things related to the values of today's society. What help us to become or to stick together when we talk about, wait, let me, okay. Let me share the screen. Okay. So in this 21st century, we know that the values are very important. And the values not only until the 21st century, but dated back long, long time ago, even in the Western education. Why do people have a very long established institution, long tradition, or very well-known institution in the history? Because they based on the value that center, the center that holds everyone. So value are more than ability and skill. And you know that many of us mention the idea of core values. In fact, the core values are the essential things or value that help people stick together. When we talk about a certain institution, then we tend to think of the values that institution really want to communicate, that institution really want to get people together through. The values call for a commitment to the whole personality and are for that reason qualities intrinsic to what we do and how we do it. So in education, values are seen as a part of the process of knowing and learning, and at the same time as something to be addressed directly in their own terms. Values. So the key point here is, for quite a long history, education in the Western has tried their best to promote the center value of their own institution among the student, among the alumni. But for the context of Vietnam, dated back to maybe a decade ago, when people do not know exactly what the core values are, I first asked the university president, what are the values of our institution? The president then, Professor Shang, Guaban Shang, did mention the idea that, okay, we have those kind of values and those kind of philosophy of education, well-rounded education, and so on. Since then, our institution starting to think of the core values, the philosophy of education, and many other institutions started thinking of the philosophy or educational philosophy as well as their core values, starting to think of and to state explicitly what the core values are uh, in the certain institution. So that's the reason why you can see there's a number of changes in our Vietnamese higher education in the recent decades. So values in the 21st century learning include several levels of significance. First of all, reflected in the step in which the learner exposed to them and the values in terms of the personal context, the social context, all right? So you can see that those kind of values are important. So it depends on the different institution. They may cultivate different kind of values. And through values, people stick together. This is what we already watched a while ago, but that helped us a lot. So when we talk about communication in the school, we are talking about policy. We are talking about regulation, images, signal, manners, behaviors, language, both in the oral form and in the written form. The majority of those will constitute a large amount of document, a large amount of regulation, a large amount of guidelines, a large amount, uh, a large amount of manual. You may have faculty manual, student manual, những cái sổ tay sinh viên, sổ tay cho học viên cao học, sổ tay cho giáo viên, sổ tay hướng dẫn về hợp tác quốc tế, sổ tay hướng dẫn về quy trình nội bộ, vân vân. A lot of manual, a lot of regulation, a lot of policy, and even the images that we communicate ourselves to the public, to the society, to the student, both the prospective student and the current student, and to the alumni, and so on. And there will be different kind of signals, like the banner or different kind of statue or standee that you put in the campus, that you really want to communicate a picture, all right? Or there will be some certain kind of statue that dignify some certain values of the institution. For example, we have the statue of phong trào thanh niên, hoặc là phong trào học sinh sinh viên của nhân văn, của văn khoa tổng hợp. Cái bảng mà các bạn thường hay chụp hình lễ tốt nghiệp, cái chỗ cột cờ ở trường mình đó, các bạn biết không? Trường chúng ta cũng phải dựng những biểu tượng đó, vì nó chính là truyền thống, nó chính là biểu tượng của lịch sử, và nó cũng phải được đặt cái giá trị vào đó để ghi nhận vào cái sự thành công, sự phát triển của cả các cái giá trị của ngôi trường của chúng ta, và kể cả những người tốt nghiệp ở cái ngôi trường này cũng sẽ mang trên mình những cái giá trị đó. Cho nên đó cũng là những signal, đó chính là những cái biểu tượng. And the manner and the behavior, the language used, and so on and so forth of the people of a certain institution, or even of the learners, of the student graduating from a certain institution. You can see some certain kind of common features in the language used, in the way they behave. Yeah. So when people recruit or employ the new employee, they may feel that, okay, this sound from University of Social Sciences or Humanity, this sound from Marchand University, or from the other institution. They tend to be from abroad. There might be some kind of demeanor or the behavior or the manner of delivery that people may guess, people may predict. So these are part of communication. So why do we need to communicate, and what can we communicate among people within the community and without the community, within or without, tức là bên trong cái nội bộ của chúng ta và đối với những cộng đồng bên ngoài. Đó là communicate the common goals that need to be accomplished, right? And we communicate the action, the strategies that need to be well done, that need to be implemented. And of course, the common goals that need to be shared, that need to be understood, and that need to be communicated. So that's the reason why communication becomes very important in our social life of a certain institution, in the campus life of a certain institution. So going back to the case, the example of your dilemma, Min Group share that the delay in salary sending, that is an issue, but that might need to be shared or communicated among the staff so that they can understand the difficulty that we as an institution or a language center encounter, especially during the pandemic period. Regarding the effective communication, we have to understand very clearly the important role of vision and mission of a certain institution. And of course, the core values that go with the vision and the mission the shared goals, the strategy. Usually you can see the shared goal and the strategy are embedded, are presented in the strategic plan of a certain institution of maybe 5-year stage or 10-year stage or the like. And we communicate among the people, between teacher and student, between administrator and student, between administrator and teacher and the staff, and throughout the institution. And we can understand the effective communication play an important role in communicating the institutional image to both the society and the industry, as well as to the internal community. And of course, we have to understand the general operation of activity and strategy that go around it. Okay, so effective communication requires us to understand all those five issue or factor or group of factors in building up a kind of school culture for effective communication. Now, let us continue with the group discussion. What causes communication breakdown in a school? As a leader of a school, how can you solve such factor that causes communication breakdown? The example that Min group shared a while ago is one example. Can some other group share your example, please? How about the other group? How about group 5? Any sharing from group 5? But also in the form of a written communication of documents, of announcement within an institution, or even in the way we write email to our student, to our people, that would affect too. Yeah. So you can see that's important. Any other sharing from the other class member? I have another story for you to think the important role of communication or giving advice. So this is just a kind of fun story, but I think that's interesting for you to think of. It's not really about institution, but it's about life. It's about life. But it's good for us to think of, and it deserves thinking and reflecting. So let me stop sharing the screen, and we can share another one. Okay, that might not be closely related to what we talked about in terms of communication, effective communication. But you know that one important piece of advice that we can learn from this kind of video is that when we communicate with people in a certain organization, we should understand what the common sense is. We have to think of what the people are looking for, what the people are expecting from us as the institution administrator, as the student, or as the teacher, or as the parent, or as the employer. Then we need to understand very clearly our important role in communicating with people so that we can come up with helping them understand more about the common values. Of course, we do not expect too much from the people, as well as we do not encourage people to miscommunicate of what we are trying to communicate for the student, for the institution success. But I do hope that with the three important tips that can not only change your life, but also change your institution, in the future, especially in the way we communicate with each other, with your own person, with your own certain self. All right, we have a kind of self-reflection on your own, on our own. Do not put in ourselves. Do not pity in ourselves. Do not try in to beat ourselves because of not doing this and not doing that or regretting about the past. So again, we get back to what we may learn from this kind of video, getting back to the lesson of our session today. Communication, effective communication. So again, I would like to continue sharing the last few slides in my lesson today. Be self-confident without being arrogant. That might be an important notice for those who want to become an administrator of any certain place or any certain program or any certain organization. Be self-confident without being arrogant. We also learn more from the Zen monk, and he's really approachable in this way. He shared with us in a way that we can become a better version of ourselves, especially in the context of today. Being humble would help you a lot. And another one, I would love to remind you before we come to the Q&A section. Effective communication is a very important tool in our administration of any kind of program or any kind of institution. Professionalism in the way we communicate, in the way we carry out things, is also important contributor to the success of your administration career. Okay, so that's everything that I like to share today. Now, do we have any questions for today's session? Yes? Can I see all of you? Sao Thủy gái rụng hết Thủy ơi? Sao vậy? Nãy giờ bị ngứa trán luôn rồi. Yes, any sharing, any questions? Communication is really important, you know, and in many cases, if you observe, then you can see the important role of communication. As a leader or as an administrator, you need to be a certain person who can really communicate with your staff, with your organization, the message that you really want to. You may also observe your, the people you are working with, you are learning with, or you are teaching in the way they communicate, and you observe and reflect on what we have today as the important lesson for us to move on. So it depends on our nature. We can continue to nurture our communication skill. The nature of communication, our communication skill by nature, it depends. But then we can move on nurturing our communication skill by taking up the courses on public speaking, on presentation skill, but that's not enough. We have to accumulate through our time. And we have the experience in doing this and that, and through our observation, that would help you a lot. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Thủy, would you like to say something?
Yeah, em có đề xuất được mà.
Yes.
Tại vì để chúng ta effective communication thì một những cái tố quan trọng là chúng ta cần thấu hiểu người đấy trước đã. Thì sẽ tuyệt vời lắm.
Definitely.
Bài này, nếu trước bài này chúng ta có một bài về làm sao để chúng ta thấu hiểu.
Yeah, correctly. Exactly.
Dạ, cái đó là đề xuất thôi. Dạ, đề xuất của em thôi. Dạ.
Yeah, definitely, that's important. We have to understand people before we can really communicate. But when we communicate, in order to be successful in communication, we have to know the common goals. So when we talk about a certain organization, the common goals is the most important thing. People would work together with us, not for us, huh? Not for us. I would never say that people would work for me. No, people would work for the organization. But people work for the organization because they think that the common goal is shared by them. Thầy làm ở trường hay thầy làm ở khoa, thực ra nó không phải là họ làm cho thầy. Họ làm cho thầy. Không có ai làm cho thầy cả. Họ làm vì họ share cái common goals. So that is the understanding. So when we communicate with each other, we help people understand the common goal. So in one of my last few slides, you can see the one with 3 arrows. Cái mà nó có 3 cái mũi tên, nếu các bạn còn nhớ. Trong đó nó có một chỗ là the shared goals. Cái đó là understand. Yeah, exactly. We need to understand people. But of course, we need to balance, huh? Among 900 people at our institution, do you think that they all would agree with the same goals? Never can we. Never can they. Trong gia đình chúng ta có 5 người thôi mà các bạn biết rằng một ai đó nói ra thì 4 người còn lại có đồng ý hoàn toàn không? Trừ khi bạn nói bữa nay ba dẫn đi ăn nhà hàng. Nhưng mà biết đâu bữa đó nó có hẹn bồ, cái nó bảo không, con không đi ăn nhà hàng hoài chán lắm, mà thật ra là nó có hẹn bồ bịch rồi. Hiểu chưa? Cho nên 5 người thôi mà cũng đã rối rồi. 900 con người như cỡ trường chúng ta chẳng hạn, hoặc là 500 con người ở một trường nào đó, thì các bạn sẽ thấy rằng chúng ta sẽ không có cách nào để mà facilitate được cái common goals đó nếu chúng ta không set out the common goals. Như vậy ở đây cán bộ nhân sự là không có làm cho lãnh đạo, mà họ chỉ làm vì họ share cái common goals. And then they feel the ownership. Thầy có một chữ thứ hai, mà thầy cái chữ này hình như thầy giảng rồi. Đấy là ownership. Các bạn còn nhớ không? The common goals and the ownership. Khi họ cảm nhận đó là sự sống còn của chính bản thân họ, thì họ sẽ cùng làm với chúng ta. Như vậy chúng ta thấy rằng có những khó khăn thì hãy để cho mọi người chia sẻ. Chia sẻ bằng cách nào? Bằng cách communicate the difficulty to the people for their understanding. Nhưng mà thầy nói thật, chia sẻ ra rồi, đố các em chứ họ có hiểu không? Họ đi diễn giải theo kiểu khác. Cái đó nó thuộc về cái gì? The expertise, the professionalism of a certain people. Đây, như vậy cái năng lực của mỗi con người lại là một yếu tố khác. Vậy các bạn sẽ thấy để train được một đội ngũ tinh nhuệ như thế, thật nó không dễ chút nào hết. Nó phần phải có những cái sự thông cảm, những thấu hiểu giữa trên và dưới lên trên. Và cái đó nó chỉ chia sẻ qua được common goal và ownership. Khi họ có một cái sense of belonging, một sense of ownership, họ sẽ cảm thấy dễ dàng chấp nhận hơn. Và các em cũng vậy. Trong dạy lớp học của chúng ta cũng thế. Khi sinh viên họ hiểu được rằng trên lớp thầy không phải muốn đì mình, cho nên những gì mà thầy nhắc, thầy la, mình cũng không giận. Bởi vì mình giận tức là mình regret the past, là vì sao hồi nãy thầy chửi em. Đúng không? Giống như con chim nó chửi cái ông mà đã thả con chim đi rồi đó. Vừa thả xong cái nó chửi ổng liền, nó chửi ngu. Nếu các bạn nghe kỹ lại chúng ta sẽ thấy rằng con chim nó chửi ổng chứ. Ổng tức quá, tiếc ghê. Mà thật ra cái common sense là con chim nó làm gì nó có được viên ngọc. Cho nên nếu chúng ta chỉ được học trò một điều rằng các em học cũng vì để em, vì các em điểm thấp thầy cũng không có bị ảnh hưởng gì hết á. Giờ các em bị trượt thầy đâu có bị ảnh hưởng gì đâu, thầy đâu có bị đuổi. Thế tự nhiên là nó phải học thôi, bởi vì nó học cho nó mà, đúng không? Cho nên khi chúng ta chia sẻ được câu chuyện như vậy đối với sinh viên thì sinh viên sẽ trở nên học tốt hơn, vì họ share được common goal. Những gì thầy giảng, những gì cô giảng ở trên lớp, đó là vì em, chứ không phải là vì thầy hay là vì cô. Không phải là thầy khó hay cô khó để rồi các em phải đi học thêm. Vô lớp là thầy tuyên bố thầy không dạy thêm bao giờ nha. Thế là nó sợ. Nó sợ là vì nếu nó không học là nó sẽ bị trượt. Các em này có bao giờ tuyên bố thẳng thừng với học trò của mình là thầy cô không dạy thêm không? Sợ mất mối. Có em nào nó sợ mất mối không? Có. Ta sợ mất mối dữ lắm. Đây. Okay, that's the story of communication. Communicating the shared goal is very important. The goal should be understood, should be shared among the peoples belonging to the same organization, and that help you to have effective communication. Okay, thank you, Thuy, for reminding me of such. I did not really emphasize it in the lecture. Okay.
Dạ,
So,
thực sự dạ.
yes. Sure, you can.
Dạ. Ngoài cái quyền lực chuyên môn, em chia sẻ một chút về cái personal feelings về thầy. Thực sự là em biết thầy cũng đã gần chục năm rồi. Càng ngoài cái quyền lực chuyên môn thì cái mà em học và phục thầy đó chính là sự thấu cảm. Thấu cảm chính là thấu hiểu cộng với đồng cảm. Thấu hiểu, thấu rất là sâu, hiểu rất sâu người đấy. Nhưng cái làm nên thầy ấy mà em thấy được là cái tâm, là sự đồng cảm.
Thầy biết rồi, hôm nay thầy cảm là vì thầy hiểu nhiều quá cho nên thầy cảm.
Dạ. Cái đó là cái thuộc về cái by nature, không phải ai cũng có khả năng thấu cảm hay được. Có thể họ thấu hiểu thì thông qua việc học về tâm lý học hay gì, bạn có thể nhìn một người bạn đọc vị được, không khó, nhưng cái điều quyết định cái nền tảng chính là sự đồng cảm. Em cũng đồng ý với thầy là phần nào đấy communication thì cái nền móng của nó chính là by nature. Đó chính là by nature. Nhưng xét về mặt lý luận thì nó vẫn là by nurture.
Nurture nó là một phần thôi em, nhưng mà nó chỉ 40% thôi, chứ nó không được lên tới 60% đâu. Trừ khi người đó phải nỗ lực dữ lắm. Cho nên có, trong thực tế có.
Dạ, một người mà có cái quyền lực chuyên môn cao, tức là phải là một người rất giỏi, tức là giỏi cả về tọa độ để Carter vuông góc ấy, thì được thầy phải giỏi cả chiều ngang với lại chiều sâu nữa. Thường ấy những người quyền lực chuyên môn ấy, thì để mà họ có đồng cảm là thấp lắm. Thì đó là tỷ lệ nghịch với nhau. Những thầy làm được hai cái đấy rất là tuyệt vời. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your sharing and for your reflection. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully I can continue to understand you all guys as well as my staff or some other people. But that's in my style or what I can learn from my experience as well. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Rồi, còn bạn nào chia sẻ gì nữa không? Yes. My nãy giờ cười quá trời, nói gì không em? Mỹ Linh. Nãy giờ cười quá trời, cười đến rút giận luôn. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right, if you don't have any other questions, I just have a little reminder. I have received a number of your emails sending your outline. So by tomorrow afternoon at around 17 p.m. Please try to email me via email thread. Don't create a new email of your outline so that I can keep all of your outline. I did check with Dr. Nguyen regarding the EF learning, but I don't know why it's still be in use. But some of you cannot access the EF learning. I don't know why. Anything wrong with it? So in the meantime, you just submit your paper via email via this email thread that I usually communicate with you. Okay, I do not create the Google folder because you may know each other paper. So that would not be very private anymore. So, okay, thank you. Don't forget to send me your paper. We will have the last two sessions next week on 18th of January and 19th of January, Tuesday and Wednesday morning at 8 until 12. Unless there is some changes in terms of my schedule, I would update you if there is any changes as soon as I can. Okay, so thank
I'm
you
sorry
so much.
because I'm sorry because I can't hear you clearly. So we have class on Tuesday in the morning, right? Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday in the morning and Wednesday in the morning too.
Yes. Okay. At 8 a.m. Right, Mister?
Yeah, 8 a.m. 8 a.m.
Yes. Thank
Sáng
you.
thứ ba ngày 18 tháng 1 và sáng thứ tư ngày 19 tháng 1 8 giờ cho đến 12 giờ. Tại vì có một vài bạn chúng ta còn phải take care gia đình, cho nên là 8 giờ ta sẽ bắt đầu học tới 12 giờ nha các em nha. Lịch thì là sáng thứ ba và sáng thứ tư. Nếu có trường hợp gì mà nó rơi vào những cái cuộc họp cực kỳ quan trọng mà thầy không thể nghỉ được á, thì thầy sẽ điều chỉnh lịch, thầy sẽ thông báo với các em. Ít nhất là chúng ta cũng sẽ học được một buổi trong tuần sau, thì chúng ta sẽ phải thêm một buổi nữa vào cái tuần gần cuối Tết, rồi chúng ta sẽ kết thúc ha. Còn nếu chúng ta học 2 buổi thì chúng ta sẽ kết thúc luôn. Okay, so goodbye everyone and see you next week. Goodbye. Yeah, enjoy your day.
Thank
Yeah,
you a lot.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. Goodbye, goodbye class. Yeah, goodbye everyone.